Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another episode of Expected Youth, where we speak to extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. Today, I have a very interesting lady. Her name is Bontle Moabi. She's a South African-born writer, and she's written two books. Not one, but two. And both of her books are very interesting reads, and I'm definitely going to give her the floor so she can speak about it. But before we go there, I would just like Miss Bontle Moabi to introduce herself and just to give us like a 10-second intro to who exactly she is. So without further ado, Miss Bontle Moabi, introduce yourself.
Thank you. So as you so nicely put it, Bontle Moabi, and I mean, I'm a writer, officially a published author of two books. I am, 27 years old. I'm an endometriosis advocate, I'd like to call myself. So I have a little bit of a love and a passion for women's reproductive health and their rights and stuff like that. So that's what I spend my time doing. And sometimes I'm a student, and that's just me.
When it came to writing your first book now, Church.
Yeah.
What was the journey like? Like what inspires you to write? What triggered that moment that now I'm gonna write this book, I'm gonna call it Church? Like what is that whole journey like for you?
Okay, so I was in a relationship and it didn't work out, and in trying to heal, I had set up a bunch of things that I really wanted to do, and one of those things was that I wanted to write, and I wanted to write 5 books in 5 years. And I didn't exactly know that this would be the first one or what any of them would be. But then I started to think of 5 different concepts, and then I started writing this one. But then because I was still in pain and my heart was still broken, and it was just a very difficult time still, I didn't finish it, right? And I guess it took me almost 5 years of basically doing nothing when I had wanted to release a book every year. So I was in pain, and I had to go through that to kind of, I guess, get to a place where I was stable enough to say I'm ready to write. And it was for me to release the pain, the heartbreak, and put it out into the world, and hopefully someone could relate to it. And then I started it again, and I ended up finishing the book. And when I finished it, I didn't even know if that was the point I wanted to finish. It was just one of those moments where I was just like, okay, this is it. This is where I want to finish. I'm good. I've said what I needed to say. I've almost released it from my heart as well. And yeah, that's pretty much how it happened.
So do you reckon that it has officially helped you heal, or do you read it every now and then just to assist the healing process? Because I understand that it's a long journey, and there's times where you do feel how's it been?
You know what, I will say, I don't know if I can say I'm at a point where I'm just I'm 100%, because it's a part of my story. It's just, it's not something I want to hold on to forever. I'm definitely mostly on the other side of things. I go back to it because I try to see how far I've come, right? And I've come a long way. So that for me, just going through it and reminding myself, not to say that I don't want to betray my pain by moving on and letting it go, but I've gotten to a point where, so recently I was I'm okay. This thing doesn't hurt me like it used to hurt me, so I've done some healing, but because I think it was a little traumatic for me and I was so devastated, sometimes the experience, the reminder of it is just oh wow, that sucked. I wish that didn't happen. But I definitely think it's just part of the story, and I'm better now, So yeah.
And then with your second book, Memories of His Bathroom Floor, what was that about? just to intrigue the viewers, like what inspired that, and how was that process?
So, you're probably the first person I'm speaking to about this book, because I didn't even formally do like a book launch for it because I thought it was a little bit more raw than church. Um, so like I mentioned before, with the 5 books that I wanted to write, this one wasn't part of it, right? This one came maybe at the end of last year into my heart, and I felt it's a story that needed to be told, a message that maybe someone needs to hear from me. And basically, it, without giving away too much, it shares details of sexual assault and the memories of it, and just recalling that. So that is my own story. I didn't make it up. I didn't, I just unfortunately happened to experience it, So yeah, I put it into a book, and yeah.
Like the reason why I decided to interview is because your stories, like knowing you for a very long time, I obviously like do my research. I like stalk in a way, like I go through YouTube videos. Like you are a very interesting person, and the stories that you tell, they're all raw and uncut. And I just feel
Yeah.
they don't get out there as much as they should be. Because I mean, it's a powerful story, and you to put it in a book, like that's just bravery on another level, because you're putting your whole life there. So I just figured that like I have to have a conversation. It's been a long time coming, but I was like, no, it has to happen now, because your stories like that are very extraordinary, and they need to be out there as much as possible, and
I hear you.
it's powerful, man. Now, another fascinating thing is, okay, there's the book, the writing side, but then there's also the business model side. Like you use the book as you monetizing the book in a sense. How was the process of getting it from Microsoft Word to actually getting it printed? Like, how was that process? Because it's self-published. Like, there's no Penguin House, there's no Tafelberg. Like, it's self-published. Like, that is another extraordinary thing. Like, how was that process? What are the challenges, and what would you pass on to a person who is a writer but wants to be a self-publisher at the same time?
So I love the fact that you asked that question. And I mean, it's kind of essentially why I would love to, I think, maybe eventually get into publishing. But basically for me, I told myself that it's not about money. I don't want to make money from this necessarily. I would love to do this to make a living out of it and just be a full-time writer, pay my bills with writing in my books. But the first thing was I just want to get the message out there, right? So knowing that already was just like, this is not necessarily where I'm going to make my first million, right? That may not be the case for everybody, but just personally, right? So firstly, you have to write the book. That's what I would always say. Finish, write the book, and you'll sort out the kinks and stuff later. And doing research and sort of finding maybe at least one other person, because as much as I'm self-published, I tend to want to take on and do everything by myself. So getting help makes the difference, right? So what I did was I found a graphic designer, that really helped me in the journey. They were great throughout the entire process, from cover to typesetting to just like everything that got me ready enough to just send to the printers and then printing. And then also I happened to have found a really amazing printer who the person I work with, they're fantastic. They're great. They're easy. I just sent them the PDF and it was great. And what I had done, I had started with publishing on Amazon. That one was a little bit tricky. It was difficult. I wish I could kind of avoid it, because that's where I found like a little bit of struggles, especially with also people kind of telling me that like, no, they kind of prefer maybe a different platform or like a physical copy, as much as we're all like on technology, I found a lot of people saying, no, I actually prefer the, hard copy. So Amazon, for me, the challenge was I needed like a US or like a foreign bank account. I didn't have like PayPal or anything at the time. So I had to sort of like make a plan with that. And then so that makes it difficult because then you probably don't see your money until like much later. And I think not everyone is even able to access a foreign bank account. You know what I mean? So you end up not doing it there. But Draft2 Digital is another great platform that I used where it publishes all your books online on different, if it meets the criteria, it'll publish it on like every site. And eventually you'll just like end up Googling your name and then you'll see it on like a bunch of different, bookstores. So that was great. And in terms of like distribution, when I first like distributed like the first batch of church, it was a struggle because, I had to figure out like, how am I going to deliver? I'm doing it by myself. I can't drive, in different cities, like, oh, it was so difficult. Some books got lost in the process, so that I lost money. So I don't think I've even all the way seen like huge returns because I'm constantly paying for my website, paying to print. It's a lot of costs involved. I'll maybe see like a percentage of it, even though I'm like monetizing it. But I think it's worth it, like knowing that someone can send me a message and tell me like, oh, I really relate to your story and stuff like that. There could be more done, like in terms of like marketing and stuff like that. But with stuff like that, you're probably going to end up paying for it. So it just depends on the budget you have, who you're working with and stuff. But that was essentially my journey. And I mean, I at the beginning of it kind of made like a bit of a document to share my writing process. So maybe, I don't know, I'll send that to you. I'll make probably an updated version because maybe things have changed. I got my ISBN for free in South Africa. It's free on a website. It's called My eBook. But they can also help you throughout the entire process of self-publishing. So that's really, really great. It's been rewarding, like just to get like the final books in my hand. Like that's the best feeling ever. I'm sure you know what that feels like. So,
Yeah, for sure. Like it's always interesting. And that's also another reason why I interview, like as a writer, as a self-published writer, you are more hands-on. Like it's not just like submitting it to a publishing house and then they handle the graphics, the artworks, the editing. Like everything is literally like you have it, so you hear things about ISBN numbers. Like I'd never heard of that before. It's like, what the hell is that? And like, no, it's ISBN. You need that, for the digital and for the paperbacks. It's a whole thing. And then that it doesn't end there. Like usually what I thought when I wrote the book is like, okay, I'm gonna New York Times bestseller type steez, that type of vibe. But then I realized that people don't make money from the books. It's afterwards, like the talks. So the book is a way to get into certain spaces. And then the person sees the book like, wow, we need this person at a function. So it was an interesting business model that books are just used as a way to leverage, to propel themselves into other things. So I really hope in 2022, like now that COVID has broken things down, like made things easy, like there'll be more like gigs. Cause like I see you, man, I see you traveling, yo. I see you going to like worldwide steez, and obviously like they need to be.
I received that.
Like it's you have a brilliant story to tell, and you can communicate. Like you're just the whole package, man. And I feel I really like, if I had my way, man, if I had a budget, or if like government was interested in like sponsoring, I'd be like, yo, man, put your money here, because it's a very it's a very powerful story. Like when I read Church, I was like, whoa. Whew. I had no idea, and I'd known you for years, and then came the second book. Like it's powerful, man. And I always like to thank people, because I mean people have ideas, but they become afraid of putting it for public consumption. and you've put your life, your story for public consumption. I mean,
Yeah.
people throw shade, people have their opinions, and you're just like, I'm gonna put it out regardless. That is
Yeah.
extraordinary. That is something
Yeah, I mean,
brilliant.
yeah. I think I think one of the worries I had is that thinking that people might think I'm maybe doing it for like clout, you know what I mean? For like clicks and stuff. And that's not the case. It's just that with some of the feedback I've gotten, like you're saying, we may have known each other for such a long time and sat next to each other and had lots of conversations, but you'd never know. And having someone come back to me and tell me like, oh my gosh, like me too. And I also get that thing where I'm just like, oh my gosh, so maybe had I not shared this person would maybe be dying inside as well and stuff like that. So for me, although I am worried about people thinking it's just for clout, I think I do have like an important role to play in just sharing a message and trying to like make a difference and stuff.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And then apart from being a writer, you're also an advocate for a condition called
Hmm.
endometriosis. For the viewers
Yeah.
that don't know what it is, may you please
Yeah.
give us like a bio or a
Mm.
synopsis of what endometriosis is?
People are gonna have to forgive me because I might get the definition wrong, but I'll explain it as best as I can. It's basically like endometrial tissue that occurs like outside of the uterus, and it can affect like the entire body. But it's mostly like your reproductive organs, right? And there's like 4 stages of it, and it basically results in painful periods, heavy bleeding, infertility sometimes, back pain, leg pain, knee pain. It's just painful. You're chronically in pain, but not everyone will experience pain like that. Sometimes you might have stage 4 and not feel any pain. You might have stage 1 and have like so much pain. So um, yeah, that's essentially like what it is. But it's very similar to other conditions like PCOS or adenomyosis or having fibroids. Some of the symptoms, these things overlap. Sometimes you can end up having both or all of those things at once. It's just yeah, it's just one of those things that a lot of people are affected by, but not many people know what it is. Yeah.
And then what do you do to assist? Like, what campaigns are you a part of? Like, what drives do you do? Is it a yearly thing? Like,
Um,
what exactly do you do?
So for now, because I've had my own struggles, like I'm constantly in pain, it's very difficult to like put myself out there and to consistently do it as well. For now, I'm on social media and I've found that I haven't been consistent on it, but like the YouTube channel and my Instagram page, more than anything, my Instagram page with the very few followers that I have, I've had so much engagement. Like it like just warms my heart, how much engagement I've had with so many people
Yeah.
wanting help with that. So for now, it's my Instagram page. And I am hoping to like get into more like girls' schools and stuff to like donate pads and stuff like that. Hopefully one day start up like my own line of like products, for healing remedies. But I share everything that works for me, right? So whether it's seeing a homeopathic doctor or it's using these remedies or doing that and that, but there's so many different things that work differently for different people. um I just all I can do is share my story and hopefully somebody gets something from that. So for now, that's where I'm at. I eventually will start a nonprofit, but I just want to pace myself right now. So yeah.
And as
Yeah.
Bontle Moabi, where do you get strength as a woman, as a human
Mm.
being? How do you have the strength that you have?
Mm. Well, I happen to believe in God, so um, honestly, I truly had my own fair share of thinking like, you know what, God, you're not hearing me, you're not here for me, you're letting me go through all these things. So I was, upset and angry and stuff like that. But on a particular time in my life where it was just very dark and I essentially just wanted to take my own life, only something supernatural saved me, and since that moment, I've just been like, you know what, this is where my strength comes from. Days are hard, when you like struggle with like physical pain and mentally you're not like all the way okay. But somehow I'm still here. I'm still, pushing. I managed to write 2 books in a pandemic. And I just so happened to be in the hospital just before releasing the one, and yeah, like I only God, hey, for me. I really don't know where else I could get strength from. I'm also fortunate, I think, to have family around me that maybe not everyone has the same support, but from them too. And yeah, that's really it, hey?
Like, yeah, like it's heartwarming for me. I'm not gonna lie, like no cap, like
Yeah.
seeing, seeing you, like the journey from when I would go to church with you. Like I would see like you go hard at church, yo, you go hard, and it's nice. Yeah, it's nice to see what the supernatural side can do to like the physical side. And
Yeah.
I'm just glad that you didn't take your own life and that you're still here, because I believe that you still have more stories, more books to publish. I mean, you said you want to have an NPO, like that's just that's powerful stuff, like, and I want to see that happen, and you have the X Factor youth support. I really hope that in 2022, like we get to work together, and see what can be done, because your story is special. What you have to offer to society is exceptional. It's extraordinary. And yeah, I can't wait to put you in a platform, man, where you could just speak to the masses.
I can't wait either, Yeah, I really appreciate being able to, like, I think speak to I guess a peer, because I know you're doing a lot of things, and especially for young people, and I am all about young people. So I look forward to working in the future, together, for sure.
I appreciate it. Now, for the next slot, I want you, well, I would like you to look at the camera and just picture yourself speaking to a young woman who might be going through the same thing. And I just want you to give them a message. And it can be about anything. Just give them a message of encouragement, of inspiration, and just speak from your heart, like raw and uncut. Do your thing. Like, it's all yours.
Over here, or do I look? I don't know.
Anyway, it's all up to you.
Okay. So I don't want to speak just as like a champion of positivity and saying everything is just going to be okay. But I have to say that it's probably going to be hard as a young woman, as a young person in especially today's society. And in my journey, I realized that there are a lot of things that break your heart more than just someone breaking up with you, and sometimes someone violating you or someone disappointing you in a way that you maybe never saw as like a young child. But what I can say is, when it comes to yourself, like, to never give up. I don't know when it's going to be okay or when it gets better. I can't even answer where God was or is for some of the things we go through, but there is something within you that these circumstances are trying to, stop and not allow someone else to see in the future. So if you're a little bit curious enough to just like hold on to hope, I would say do that. Not going to be easy, not going to be exciting. I don't know if it'll ever be okay, but just be a little bit curious enough to know that you're destined for something amazing, and you can be used for greatness. And that is really the little bit of advice or information that I can share based off of like my own journey, So yeah.
Thank you so much. That was Bontle Moabi. If you want to get her books, by the way, go onto her site.
Yeah.
That is www.bontlemoabi.com, or you can catch her on her YouTube channel, which is also Bontle Moabi. I don't know what your Instagram is, so perhaps you can like throw in your Instagram handles just so that people can follow you on your story,
Yeah, so my Instagram is @bontle_, and I think just to make it easier, that's where you'll be able to find the link to my endometriosis essay page. And just to correct you, in case people start searching for @bontle.co.za or something, but it's www.bontlemoabi.com. And but if you go onto my Instagram page, you can find everything. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Like, from a homie to a homie, like, I really appreciate you taking the time, out to speak about your book and the condition. And we'll definitely have more discussions, hopefully in real life this time, but
right.
I really appreciate you taking the time, and your story will be shared with the world. Trust me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I am always honored, and I'm inspired by what you're doing. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. That was Miss Bontle Moabi. Please go out there and get the books. They are very strong, powerful books. And just, support. Support is very important, but the stories, the journey is beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a very strong testament. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That is Bliss Sibiya from the X Factor Youth signing out.